Hey, I just got a hold of the new Douk Audio H7 Pro amplifier with VU meters and 300 watts a channel of implied power. What should I do with it? Where should I put it? Hi, I'm Bob, and you, my friends, are back in the United States of analog. Welcome to our great nation of audio participation. That's right, anticipation. We've got the H7 Pro from Douk to show you today. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm going to tell you about this little digital amp that was sent to me. It really doesn't have a place in my reference system upstairs. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I shoot most of them down here, downstairs, in the Japanese style jazz kisa that I built. I call it Jazz Spot Strummer after the great Joe Strummer. I've named it after him. I've got all my vinyl down here, all my music, a lot of equipment, and I thought I could put the Douk H7 through its paces down here. I'm gonna replace my Jolita 202 tube amp with this Douk Audio H7 Pro. The Jolita, about 40 watts a side, 8 ohms. This is alleged, purported to be 300 watts a channel into 4 ohms. I'm guessing audio math, 125, 150 into 8. Is it really gonna get that? Well, I don't know. I don't really care. But can it drive my Heresy 3s, my LS50 Metas that I have down here from Kef? Will it drive those? Will this become a permanent placement in my Jazz Kisa? Let's wire it up and fire it up. All right, so the H7 Pro connected very easily. It weighs a fraction of what that Jolita JD 202 tube amp weighs, but not to worry, I've got it in, got it setting on a nice cigar box because it just didn't fill the space. But let me give you the overview of this particular Fun-Fi amplifier. It costs $129 on Amazon and on Douk Audio's website. Amazon has a 5% coupon now at the time of this taping. The dimensions, these are approximate 6.5 wide, 5 inches deep, 1.65 inches tall. And it uses the famous TPA, Texas Instruments 3255 chip, the amp chip which is used in so many popular Fun-Fi amplifiers. Everything from the Fozzy V3 to the Fozzy ZA3, the IEMA A08, and many others. It tells you that not only is this an economical solution for power, but is very popular among manufacturers everywhere, delivering great power at a great price. And again, with Fun-Fi products, I always have to stress, you've got to manage your expectation. This is a $129 amplifier, and you need to act accordingly or not. Who am I to tell you what to do? Dude, you do you. I'm suggesting that you manage your expectations. So on the front, we have 2 VU meters, circular meters that are trimmed in copper trim, some kind of copper trim. Now, I know you're gonna comment below that in a past video, not too long ago, I said that round VU meters were a little bit icky for me. And I'm not gonna backtrack on that. But there's limited real estate here. Rectangular VU meters just aren't gonna work with this particular design. It has curved edges and everything. So aesthetically, you know, does it look a little steampunky? I always say that some VU meters are better than no VU meters, ick or no ick. The balance control is here. Mine was slightly askew. The center clicky position just slightly before 12 noon. And the OCD in me wanted to get out some needle nose pliers and try to fix it, but you know what? I'd probably damage it. So I'm just gonna, over time, I'll just learn to live with it. The volume control here, there's nice click stops. I guess the volume knob and the balance knob are a little bit of a disappointment to me. They feel a little undersized. I understand why that is. Again, limited real estate on the front panel. You know, they work. You've got a toggle switch, off, XLR, and RCA. Yes, this has balanced. This has balance. Look at this. This isn't even plugged in. Oh, there it goes. It had a little stored charge there. You gotta be careful. Don't open these things up, man, because on the back we got those balanced inputs. I did not use those for my testing. I'm keeping everything simple here in my little jazz bar. We've got RCA inputs, our RCA outputs for subwoofers and or some other piece of gear, and little tiny speaker terminals, which aren't going to be a problem if you have banana plugs, but if you have to twist these things, you might get a little bit of a finger cramp. And I'm going to talk about the power supply in just a second. Oh, and I forgot, this weighs in at about 3 pounds. Now, before we get to the sound of the H7 Pro, let me tell you about the other equipment that we're using here for our analysis. Now, I'm using only vinyl because that's what I do here in this bar. That's the vibe that we're giving off here, okay? Technics, the anniversary model 1200 M7L. This one is in black with the gold tone arm. Feeding into the Ampapa A1 Phono preamp/preamp with tone controls and everything, but those are flat. It's a little tube thing. It's pretty cool. And you can also get that on the Douk website. I use that daily here in my bar and feeding directly to the H7 Pro. That's pretty much the system. The albums I selected from behind me. You've probably already seen Hypnotic Eye behind me. Tom Petty. When in doubt, always Tom Petty. When you want to rock. I miss Tom Petty a lot. He's one of my favorite performers. And WiiM's greatest, the Japanese pressing. I find this to be sonically superior to a lot of WiiM's records that I already own. All right, don't fall over there. Let's get to the sound. And I'm going to speak in really general terms here because I don't think a $129 amplifier deserves a whole lot of investigation. Is it going to do the job? Is it going to drive the speakers that I've mentioned previously? I did not listen to this for more than 2 minutes with the KEF LS50 Metas. Just not going to work. At least at 32 volt power supply, it's not going to work. And in defense of this little Douk unit here, many of the amplifiers that I have aren't satisfactory with the LS50 Metas. So let's take those out of the picture. I rarely play them in here. They're more, at this point, they're $1,500 showpieces. But the Heresy 3s, the third generation of the Heresies from Klipsch, with this and the 32 volt power supply, made pretty good music. Pretty good rock music coming out of the speakers without a subwoofer, decent bass. I was struck by the clarity of the higher end, the middle, I guess it's the high mids? Either way, either side of that line. Steve Ferrone's kind of ride cymbal action was as clear. That's Tom Petty's drummer. That's as clear as I've heard in this room with any of the amplifiers or speakers that I've used. That really stood out to me. Really bright without being annoying, and I think that's a super big plus. Decent bass, not great bass, but again, I'm not using a subwoofer. I do have the option to plug in a subwoofer, and I think that would bring a lot to the party. Now, if I had to assign this amp a sound signature or sound profile, I would say it's slightly veiled. Again, we're talking about $129, not $1,299, $129. The sound signature is slightly veiled, slightly forward, no problem. I can live with that in this room. My guests can live with it. And when it comes to center image, it's definitely there. Is it the sharpest center image I've ever heard? Is it as sharp as my Technics SUG 700 at $2,500? No, wouldn't expect it to be, but it's there. And again, I know what I can do with this amp. This amp is for a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, a desktop. That's what these things are designed for. And I think it would work great in this bar. And I may rotate it in and out. Now, let me give you a little secret life hack, as it were. I just happen to have a 48 volt power supply on hand that I was using with another amp. I went online, I went to Texas Instruments site, and I saw that this handled power supplies up to 53.5 volts. So I was good to go. I connected that 48 volt power supply, and it was a world of difference. I understand that Douk cannot ship this with a 48 volt power supply. I mean, they could, but that's going to drive the price up. It's going to impact or impede impulse buying somewhat. So they're trying to keep the price low, keep the sound adequate. But when you plug in that 48 volt power supply, it was a noticeable difference. There was more rock and roll punch. There was more heart-thumping rock and roll action on the high side and on the low side. Again, without a subwoofer, it was palpable. I hesitate to tell you that because You might not have a 48-volt power supply on hand, but if you do, don't hesitate to use it because it will pay off big dividends for you. So that's it in a nutshell. The Douk H7 Pro, the Texas Instruments 3255 popular chip is inside. You know you're in good company. Is it the be-all, end-all? I would be a liar if I told you it was. Is it adequate for certain rock and roll listening solutions? Absolutely. Does it have round VU meters? Yes, it does. But I wasn't a hypocrite, all right? I said it's a little icky for me. Get something like this, have fun with it. That's what it's for. It's fun-fi, it's cheap, it's affordable. Use it, run it into the ground, and then get something else. I enjoy a lot of the Douk products. I think I will continue to put this in service here in Jazz Kisa Strummer. Is it Kissa or Kisa? I don't know. I got to look that up. I always heard it was Kisa, but I don't know. I'm not too bright. And speaking of not too bright, I'll be here again, and I hope you will too, in the United States of Analog. So, how can I spend 3 months of my life building something and not even know how it's pronounced? All right, that's lunch.